to Next Level Conversations. I am Shantae, your host, and I am so grateful that you guys are joining us on this evening. Here at Next Level, we are equipping women with the tools that they need to take their life to another level. And we are doing that by sharing stories of amazing women who have gone through all sorts of challenging circumstances, and they are sharing how they have overcome their journey and the challenges that they have faced. And our hope is that you yourself will feel inspired, that you will be encouraged as you go on your journey and find balance in your chaos. For the last couple of weeks, we have been talking about reclaiming our identity. And we have had some stories from different amazing women as they have talked about how they lost their identity at young ages. And we've been talking about the steps and the things that they've done to reclaim who they are and become one again. And tonight, I am truly excited to be able to share with you guys and interview hair care specialist Temica Seaton, who is also the author of the book, The Beautiful Door. And she is going to be sharing her story tonight with us of her journey of how she hid behind her hair for so many years. Well, she hid behind hair, she hid behind makeup, she hid behind other things for so many years to mask the pain that she had going on. And I am truly, truly, truly excited. And before I bring her on, I want to share with you guys an excerpt from her book. Life is supposed to be like a candy store when you're a kid. It should be full of sweets and fun, filled with laughter. Unfortunately, I had to experience pain early in my childhood years that would change my life forever. All my life, I hid behind hair, clothes, and makeup. That is what defined me. It helped me disguise the trauma and pain that I experienced as a child, teenager, and into adulthood. I want to introduce you guys to Temica Seaton. Temica, thank you so much for joining us on this evening.
Thank you for having me.
So I don't want to delay it because there's a lot of things that I want to cover, and I'm going to try my best not to get too deep into your book.
Okay.
And I have fallen in love with your book, The Beautiful Door, and your story of some of the trauma and the things that you've gone through and how you got to where you are today. Can you share just a little bit of that with our audience?
Well, as a kid, I was 4 years old, actually, not knowing what wrong was, and just being left around people that turned out to be not trustworthy. Coming from being up under my mom so much, I hadn't started school yet, and so was left with a family friend to babysit me while my mom and my aunt was on a fishing trip. And from there, some mismanagement happened a couple of times, and all along, I don't know that this thing is wrong. And from there, moving forward to my age 4, 5, 6, 7, I was experiencing it on a deeper level with a family member that literally broke my heart once I came into the knowledge that I was actually violated. And so from there, my childhood identity changed.
And okay, when you say it changed, how exactly did that happen for you?
I can tell you the first thing that I noticed that changed in me, that shifted, was pleasing. When I look back on it, everything I did was to please someone. So I became a strong people pleaser, even at the hands of the person that violated me.
Really?
Yes. Wow. I began to please on whatever level I needed to with whomever I came in contact with. And that was at the same token masking hurt that I didn't even know resided in me. I was so dumbfounded to what really had just happened in those early years of my life. So those were signs that I noticed once the healing started to come through. It took me all the way back to that. That was the very first thing that I started to do, was people please really strong.
So what do you think? What do you think you were looking for?
I would have to say that I was looking for that. That was my love, I guess, because these were not foreign people. They weren't people that I didn't know. They were people that I knew. And unfortunately, one was blood related. The other one wasn't, but the blood related, I really looked up to her.
And did you, at your young age, before you had a real understanding of what was going on, did you feel betrayed or anything like that, or did you not have? I mean, when you were as a younger, I know when we go to, you get older and you look back and you have experiences by it and you can see things a little different. But as a kid, did you feel any levels of betrayal, or I don't even want to say rejection or anything, but I think the word really is probably betrayal or even anger?
None of those even dawned on me.
None of those emotions.
They hadn't even started to even come forward yet.
Really? Wow. And so in your book, you talk about how you, and as we just read, you got into hair and into a lot of other things. How did your teenage, how did these experiences as a kid shape your teenage years and take you into being so caught up with hair and makeup and stuff? I've read it.
Yeah.
They haven't read it. So why don't you tell them?
So I would say me starting to do hair, I was 7 years old.
Really?
That's when I started to step into more of what I looked like.
Okay.
And that thing started to bother me even at 7. My mom couldn't fix hair good enough to me. And whatever little pigtails she put on my head and sent me to school, it wasn't good enough. I didn't feel pretty. So I started to practice. I would go to school, and during playtime on the playground, I had a teacher that would allow me to go into the restroom and comb my hair. She had a comb and brush in her purse, and she would allow me to go in there and change my hairstyle.
Really?
Yes.
So what made you think that what made you not feel pretty because your hair wasn't done the way you wanted it? Or was this part of your people pleasing and you thought you had to look a certain way?
I know now that an outer adornment was starting to really come on strong because that came along with the insecurities. I don't look right physically. I'm too skinny. I don't have the curves. See, all those things about sexuality was starting then that I did not know. I didn't have a name to them. I just knew I was going through the motions. So those names and titles didn't even come forward yet. But those were all connected to who I looked at as a person. Do I feel attractive? Because as that period came through, I went into being a tomboy.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. But you're being a tomboy
and being a girl, and
then
I'm being girly
being a girl
at the same time. Yeah. Ruffle socks. I dressed myself up. I believed in being pretty, but I also had a toughness because I needed to protect myself from the things that were going on in my environment, like younger dating too soon, being exposed to not only I've already kind of had gotten in tune with what I was dealing with, but not as far as the children and my environment of the people that I was being around. So because I became a tomboy, I was around a lot of boys. And then boys start to like you. And then boys want to hug, and then boys want to kiss. So that was my outer tough exterior. It's like, no, no hugging, no kissing. I just want to be tough. I just want to out tough you. So I was still a girl. I could still dress. I never dressed like a tomboy, but I could be just as tough as a boy could be.
And you think your toughness was masking the pain that you really was feeling?
It was hiding that big fear because, yeah.
And what was that?
I never wanted to open that door again.
That fear of being touched. What was
all of those things? Being touched. I had to be vulnerable and give myself to someone, and I never asked for it in the first place. So then I felt the pressure of being close to someone. I didn't even want to sit close to boys without wrestling.
Mm.
You know, it's like I had to always do
You had to
something
fight.
to just deter just being sitting next to a boy, because my mind would be like, this boy he may like me. He may want to, because back then boys were so childish. You know,
Yeah, they not like they were
they could
now.
pop you on the butt or anything and take off running. And I never wanted them to view me like that. So I wanted to be tough so that they would never put me in that space of wanting to like me, but it never worked. It never worked. But that was me protecting something that I knew I had experienced early on that I didn't like. It was a sore spot. So I was protecting that sore spot.
And how long did you do this? How long did you wear this mask? How long did you wear this identity of tough Temica?
I wore that until 2019.
Oh, and I don't want to, because I don't want to jump too far ahead. I really don't. I don't want to jump too far ahead. Let's back up a little bit.
Okay.
Because in the book, I know I want to, I want to go all the way in, and so you begin to, you fell in love with doing hair. Yes. Because that shaped how you look, that shaped your identity. And you truly just began, because when we talked, you said that as women begin to come to you, you begin to see yourself more and more through their story. And as I have studied your story and some of the things that you point out in the book, and the reason, and you just said it about the outer adornment, the hair, and the love for the hair. And why is it, I've said a whole lot, why is it, do you think women are so intentional about their hair?
Because that's like the first thing that will be complimented is our hair, especially amongst African American women. I think it's more easier for another woman to say your hair is pretty, but a man loves hair as well. And for us, we feel better. It's something about the crown. It's something about when the crown is dressed up. It makes us feel amazing. We can just throw on some sweats. We can wear on some tennis shoes. It doesn't matter about the bottom. But the hair is something that we search for in validating us. And it's our hair. It's our hair. And I think too, African Americans, I have to say, we've just had such a bad rap about our hair for so long. And for me, as a kid, I didn't get relaxers, and my mom finally started to press my hair, but I had curly wavy hair. That wasn't pretty to me. I needed the straight look. Whoever I saw had the straighter hair was the prettiest. And my hair drew up. I wanted it to dangle. So I would make these long plaits on my hair and put a barrette on the end to make it hang and put weight on it to show the length. It's like I had to prove that my hair was just as pretty from whatever I had. What I was dealt with, I just had to make it look better than what it was for me.
So how did that play into the mask that you were wearing and the people pleasing that you were silently suffering with at that time?
I believe the steps of that was in relation to, I believe God gave me the gift of hair as a distraction.
Okay.
Because early then, he knew that through that gateway, I was going to be exposed to the boys and things like that. Hair took me away from all of that. I was in a totally different zone. And so I would practice all the time in the house. Sometimes I gave up playing outside with the kids to go and practice my hair all the time. And that strength of doing hair and people pleasing, I started to notice that I was paying more attention to my beauty, what I thought was not pretty, because then I started to pick things early about myself. My knees are too bony. I see other little girls in my neighborhood at my age, they were heavier than I was. I didn't like that I was so slim. I was like, I'm just too skinny. I started to pick things out about me that I didn't like, They weren't flaws at all, but I thought they were flaws. I was too young to really have them. But the stamp that had been put on my back led me to believe all these things that weren't true. So I thought that I was too skinny. I started to have acne.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't like that. And all I had left was my hair because I had a gift early that people didn't believe I was doing at my age.
Mm-hmm.
So that gave me levels up. So, oh, now I get the attention. I get the praise. I get the applaud. And now I get people coming to the house to sit on the floor as this little girl sits above their head and style their hair. So that hair was a distraction, I believe, from God that was going to take me through my journey as a witness behind the chair with other women.
Yes.
In connection to really let me know that was the stage starter for my purpose, but that wasn't purpose. That was my starter. That's been my starter.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And I remember you saying in the book that whenever you got ready to change, or God was getting ready to do something in your life, it seemed to always start with your hair. You would always cut your hair or do something to that effect. Your big changes always started with your hair.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that fascinating. And we're about to transition over into your period of transformation, because I want you to share with them about how you were at the how you went to Hot Springs, Arkansas. Yeah. And so, you know what, as a matter of fact, why don't we go ahead and talk about that? But before we go fully into that, during this period of time when you are doing hair and you are pleasing people, because you're going through life, and you're growing up, and life is changing, life is moving, and you're still having these emotions, you have not dealt with at all any of the physical, sexual, emotional abuse that was perpetrated on you, and you have not talked about any of this with anybody.
Right.
And you were still wearing that hard shell, being that tomboy, being that person who had all of these walls set up around you.
Right.
So how were you dealing with that at the time?
You just keep finding things to do. I just stay busy all the time. And I'm a creative. So I love to decorate. Everything that took my mind into a different zone, that's what I put my hands on. So hair gave me the stage that it was my canvas. I could just create whatever I want to on a person's head. I change the house up. I can paint. I'm an artist. I can draw. I used to tear up clothes and sew up jeans and take them from jeans to a skirt. So I was able to do things creatively to keep my mind, keep me going. And as I was coming into my early adult years, I began to, I had my son, and I began to get out more with friends. And that was another thing, because doing that, you're starting to meet grown men.
And you're having
and
to
grown men want to challenge you.
Yeah.
Yes. And so what I may have confused them with, because now I'm still into how I look, my outer adornment, but not that I'm trying to lure you. I don't want to lure you in that type of way, but that's what I was getting. And so then the spirit of promiscuity wanted to try to creep in on my back. Oh, wow. I don't want this. I hated it. I literally hated it.
Because you had not dealt with any of the...
Didn't find no pleasure. It didn't pleasure me. I never connected to what God created it to be between man and woman. I was yet to get there. And I had a son. I had a son. But I had not I hadn't healed. I hadn't even opened up to even accept it really fully for myself. So healing hadn't even started. But I knew that was I'll just go through it, but I don't like this.
Well, everything came to a head in everything came full circle, and all of the hiding and all of the masking came full circle. Just tell us briefly about it and how that came into play and moved you into what you're doing right in the work that you're doing right now?
So back in 2019, I was at a mentor retreat in Miami, Florida. And one of the exercises that we did was we had it was like a pajama night. And we were all laying on the floor. We had done put on our pajamas and we had pillows. And so my mentor at the time had us all to lay down, and we all just laid flat on our backs. And she just told us anything that had been holding us back, anything that we needed to share and release, because we were there to be built up as mentors, but we also came with baggage as well. And so while we were laying on our backs, she said, anybody that wants to speak freely, this is your opportunity. No one was sitting up. We didn't look each other in the eye. So whoever felt they needed to share could just release it. And so I was just laying there flat on my back, and I'm starting to listen to other sounds come out in the room, and people sitting up, sharing and talking, and the whole room energy just shifted. And then I started to feel like something was pulling off of me, like heavy, the blankets that that are heavy, they say, to keep it. So I started to feel like that was sliding, like cover was falling off of me, off the side of the bed. And I began to say to myself, I have held something for so long. I sat up and I let everyone know what had happened with me. That was my very first time sharing it outwardly to anybody. And their support that they gave me, the way I felt when I left there, I was then in the process of healing, but I was mourning the little girl so much. I cried.
Don't make me cry. Don't make me cry. It's okay.
I always get to this part and I cried for her. I cried for her because nobody knew how strong she was trying to be. So that's when I started to weep for her. I wept for her more than I did for my adult self, because I said, now I get to protect her, and I get to treat her with love. I get to validate her, and I get to let her know that I'm proud of her. And she can now grow up with me, because I left her behind. I felt bad because I didn't know how to go back and get her. But I got her. I brought her with me.
I said I wasn't gonna cry.
So from that, I started to move in a different way. I felt bold. The shame was leaving. And I had a conversation with God, and I asked, well, why did you let me carry it for so long? And I kept saying to myself, I could have been through this. I could have been through this. And it was all about his timing. Like you said before we got started, he was having us on reserve for such a time as now. And that's where the journey began, where I said, you know what? It's somebody else out here that's dealing with it. And God always gives me things to say and do, because he says, I can trust you. You will do it and you won't question me. And I have paused on some things. I'm like, okay, Lord, but this right here, it's freeing. If it's freeing me, I know somebody else out there that needs to hear my voice speak on their behalf. And so that's where it began. And I just started to open up. I started a group called The Beautiful Red Room. After I came out with wrote my book, I was writing my book while I was sick with COVID, and finished that book and had a book launched and everything during the pandemic. And somebody asked me, why would you do that in a time like this? Everybody's getting sick. You were sick. You didn't think you was going to make it. I said, because God told me this was his way. He didn't want it to be done virtually. Everybody said, do it virtually. He said, no, invite the people out so that they could see my healing through you. So I had to do this thing in person. And from that day up to now, I'm able to share. I've heard so many stories from people and sharing with me in private. Thank you for speaking out, because I'm yet to still tell my story. So I'm the cheerleader now. I'm the cheerleader.
And we cheering with you, Lord have mercy.
Yeah.
I said I wasn't gonna cry.
Yeah, you did this to me, Chante. You did it to me every time. Every time.
But your story, and as I said to you, it's so, even as I was reading your book, it reminds me so much of myself. And it's so many women who have gone through the exact same thing. And so many women who are still in the same place.
Right.
And they are not living who they fully are. And now, it's beautiful to watch you and to see you and to follow you and to listen to you live a free life now. No longer shackled by our past.
Yes.
And it's a beautiful thing. That's
so
the reason why we do what we do. That's the reason why I do what I do with Next Level Conversations, so that we can share those stories, because it's a beautiful thing.
It is beautiful.
It's a beautiful thing. The beautiful door. The beautiful door. I want you guys to pick up Temica's book, The Beautiful Door. It is available in Amazon, and it goes even deeper into her story and the work that you're doing, helping women. And I just want to talk briefly about that. We've run out of time, and I tried not to. I really did. I tried not to. But I want to talk real briefly, and I want you to tell my audience about the work that you're doing, helping women come into themselves with their hair, and the type of women that you connect with, and how you're helping them.
Yeah. So right now I'm studying to be a trichologist. Needing to take that test. Mm-hmm. And but before I started to study last year, my desire to help women, more than just external, internal, had already started way before now. And so I get a lot of stories sitting in my chair, and I get them where rather they share them voluntary or involuntary. And when I say involuntary, it's like I can read through some of the things they say and do. Mm-hmm. When you live through certain things, you tend to pick up on those people around you that have experienced it, or they are experiencing it at the time.
Yes.
And so I've been a magnet to that. So I get to do the good part. Like I get to do the ministry part, where I get to talk to them about not only just hair, but life, things they're dealing with, that they're challenging, being challenged with all the time, that they don't talk to nobody about. As a woman, where self-esteem issues are really, really high, and it's masked with job, careers, relationships, and all these things. And so I get to go inward. The typical consultation in my chair is a woman sitting there, and we'll talk about what's the issue, what brought you in today, what have you been experiencing, and then I'll go to say, well, let's go a little deeper. Let's go inside. Have you been dealing with some stress? Are you depressed? Is there something you need to share with me that you haven't told anybody? And then the tears come. So I get to open up another layer, not just the epidermis, but I get to go into their spirit and just see what's going on there, because most often that's what's overlooked. What's going on emotionally is overlooked in the beauty industry, because we want to fix what's on the outside. But a lot of times we're working against that. And some things that you work to fix can't be done by medicine. It can't be done by product. It has to be done by healing from the Holy Spirit. And so I call sometimes the hair loss trauma bonds, meaning it's from trauma that has not been dealt with.
And you've been helping women do that, and women, and I know that you work particularly with women who suffer from alopecia, and those different things, and you've been helping them reclaim and open up and release the things that have been that we've been holding for so long, for so many years, and all that trauma, and it has so many different effects on us, not just physically. It affects our hair, everything. And the work that you have been doing is just absolutely amazing, and the strength and the beauty and the courage that you're giving back to these women is just it's breathtaking. It's breathtaking, and I'm in awe of you.
Thank you.
I'm in awe of you.
And it makes me feel that's what I get that's my feel good. it's better than a Dr. Pepper. So I used to be hooked on Dr. Pepper. But it's so much better than a Dr. Pepper because I get joy by other people's joy.
Yeah.
And if I can do something to make you feel better than when you came in, that's my goal. My ultimate goal is to make sure you don't leave the way you came.
Yes.
So if I can go in there and shift some things around and make you think and help you put a plan together, and then on the outside we put a plan together, then we're doing teamwork.
Yes.
And then with my clients with alopecia, a lot of them, they didn't share. I'm trying to build them up strong internally so that they can at some point lose the hair that we have to use, to mask that even. So that they can be more freer, because even though the adornment is pretty, it's so beautiful, but it's still weight.
Yes.
It's still weight. Yes. But I'm here to give them what they want going through their journey on every level that they encounter.
Yes. I love it. Yeah. I love it. And I am here for it. Yeah. I am. And we have something very special. You guys can pick up Temica's book, The Beautiful Door. Like I said, it is available on Amazon. And you go order it now. Go order it now, Temica Seaton. And also you can connect with Temica. Why don't you tell them how they can connect with you?
Well, you can connect with me on Instagram, Temica Seaton. I have a Ballaya J, BALLAYAJAE, also on Instagram. Facebook, Temica Seaton. Ain't nothing more major. Temica Seaton, you're going to find me on Instagram and Facebook.
Cool. And Temica, you also have something very special for us on tonight as we get ready to wrap up. We're getting ready to wrap up this segment. And I know you guys have a lot of questions for Temica, so don't go away, but we're getting ready to wrap up our first segment. And before we do that, you brought an extra copy of your book and your journal.
It's the journal to the book.
Okay, it's
the bookmarker. And guess what? The reason behind this big journal was from a kid like mine. I specifically had this design from like a kid, like a kid have a coloring book. So because I was on a kid journey, the words in here are adult-like, but the journal itself is like from a kid's state of mind. Okay. So they'll catch that later, but it'll be a part of my second book. But this was how and why I designed this. It's just like a note taker. Once you read the book, it has some questions in here. It will ask you to kind of make you think on even situations you may have been in. So that's what this is about. And then that's the bookmark that goes along with the book.
Well, we are going to gift one of our audience members with this. And we have actually been watching you guys in the comments and stuff. And so tonight we are gifting Storm, I believe. Let me make sure that's right. Yes, tonight we are gifting Storm with the beautiful journal, the Beautiful Door journal, the bookmark, and a copy of your book. Yes. Am I correct?
Yes.
And so, Storm, if you will provide us with your address, we will make sure that you get your copy of The Beautiful Door. And thank you so much for participating. Y'all didn't even know we was watching the chats and everything. Okay. But so Temica, I want to thank you. I do. I want to thank you. And guys, as we get ready to wrap up and you get ready to start putting in your questions, I want to thank you for being so transparent and being so open and being so honest and sharing with us. I'm gonna give you 10, 15 seconds. Talk to that little girl, that person who's in the same spot and has not opened up, and that little girl is still in bondage. Talk to her. What would you say to her right now?
I would tell that baby, don't be afraid. It's okay to come forward. Don't be afraid of the thoughts that may enter your head or even the words that may come from the predator's mouth. Share, 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 share. Do not let them get away with this. Do not carry this for the rest of your life. You can be free of this. This was not your fault. You do not get to carry it. Let it go. Scream for help. Call 911.
Do it all.
Do it all.
Open your mouth. And
Open
what
your
would you
mouth.
say? What would you say to the adult woman who's still holding what happened to the little girl that she was and hasn't freed her yet?
Healing is waiting for you on the other side.
Yes. And it is.
Healing is waiting
door.
for you on the other side. On the other side of that door.
On the other side of that door.
Yes.
Temica, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us. And I want to thank you all for joining us on tonight and for just listening and taking the time to just breathe with us. Healing is on the other side of the door. And we did this series so that you can stop living half of who you are and live a full, complete life and go and be and create the way God has created you to create. And so if you missed any of our prior episodes on reclaiming your identity, please take the time to go back and watch them. You can catch them on our website. You can watch them on our YouTube page. You can catch our podcast every Wednesday. You can even tune in to NexLevel magazine. We have all sorts of things and tools and interviews and different things set up to help you free yourself and become and obtain the healing that is yours, because that's our desire. That's what God created us for. That's what we're here for.
Yes.
We were ordained for such a time as this.
Yes.
And I just want to thank you all. I want to thank our entire team. I want to encourage you guys to check out some of the other shows on the Win-Win Women Network, because we're here to help you win. So until next week, I want to let you guys know that we love you and that we appreciate you. Talk to y'all later.